Darwin, or intelligent design. You know, there is a question that has been for a while up in your society of which is correct. And it's perhaps an ongoing debate, and you probably have some idea of which is correct. Darwin proposes that you as human beings, in fact all life, evolved out of some oozy, bubbling, bacterial bog, we would say to you. From a single cell you have developed into multi-cells, and by random you have simply erected these physical specimens of plant, animal life, and human life. The other one is something of a religious idea, is that God created everyone and everything in what, 7 days or something of this nature? And there is a thought within that that says it is intelligent design, I believe is the way it is put. Now, what if both propositions were correct? If you have listened and looked at some of the other subjects we have covered, you will notice that we have suggested that everyone has their own truth. Indeed, that is part of this truth serum that we're presenting to you now. What if everything has consciousness? And what if that consciousness was the intelligent design that allowed this single cell organism to construct atom by atom upon each other and to build these human specimens, plants, animal life, simply by consciously desiring, and that is what we're suggesting to you. That it doesn't necessarily have to be your truth, but consider that both ideas, both imaginings are correct. What if, indeed, there was some consciousness behind all of this, and that consciousness simply took on the single cell, and then the multicell and the division of cell, and had some sense of what it wished to experience, and then it came to the point to where it desired to have some vehicle, to have some kind of life experience, and then that it kept constructing a species, and then building upon that species, imagining what else it could do or what else it could be. That conscious intelligence is what we propose to you, is what evolved all of life upon this earth plane. Now, we do not say this is the only truth. Indeed, you have your own opinions, and we simply are suggesting that this is one possibility that has not been explored to any extent. The possibility that both are correct, the possibility that both of them are evolvement. In effect, you have a paradox, do you not? Or paradox, we like to say. But you live in this paradoxical paradise that you call Earth. And part of the challenge is beyond this physical creation into materiality. Part of this challenge is to perceive different ideas, to imagine what could be or what has been or what will be. And that way you evolve. You as human beings, plant life, animal life. And how do you do that? If you are just one individual consciousness, how can you possibly have anything to do with another person, another human being? How can you have anything to do with animal life? How can you have anything to do with plant life? If indeed you are separate and disconnected. If that were the case, then you probably could not affect anything else. But we propose to you that you are all interconnected, not just the human species or this mass consciousness, but all of Earth life. Everything that has consciousness, you have a connection to that. It's almost like you have these tiny strands that go out and touch all other consciousness on this invisible plane, or this hidden consciousness from you, this unconsciousness, if you wish to call it that. It is beyond the human physical brain's perception, and yet you are connected. Now, the way that you connect with other life is to be that, to think of yourself as that. That allows you to disassociate from this physical body, to refocus your intent from being strictly physical into something a little different, to experience what it is like to be a certain animal or a certain bird or a certain plant, to feel, to have some sense of what that's like. Now, again, we recognize that you're probably going to say, this is so much woo-woo stuff, I do not wish to play with that. But what if? What if you could feel what another person feels like? You know, you have words for that in your society. I think it's called being psychic or whatever else. And it doesn't mean you have to believe in any of that. We're simply saying that you have the ability to touch someone else's consciousness and lose awareness of this physical being that you are, and find, or at least have some sense of what's happening with this person. If nothing else, if you lose awareness yourself, you have some sense of what this person feels like, whether or not they're happy, they're sad, they're having difficulties, or whatever else. Simply by touching them, that energy is there. So you touch that energy and it vibrates. So the question is, how did life evolve? Was it intelligent design? Minus any type of consciousness, or all life forms separate from each other? Do they have anything in common? Or is indeed there's something a little more happening here? Is it some sort of religious ideal that says God created the heaven and earth in 7 days? Or is it 6 days and it rested on the seventh? We're not quite certain on this one. But what we were saying to you is, intelligent design is a cause. The effect is what you see around you. It is not some chaotic chance that everything simply developed like it is. If you buy into the theory that it is simply just by chance and nothing ever gets taken into any sort of design out of chaos, then we propose to you that you still would have the bubbling ooze and single cell things, and that's all you would ever see. They would simply exist and expire, and that would be the end of that. You have to have a cause, you have to have an intent in order to have an effect. It is cause and effect. Now, we recognize that there are certain religious ideals that call this karma. We are not buying into that exactly. What we're saying to you is, to have an effect, to create something, you have to have a desire, you have to have an intent. That is the intent that we propose to you that has created the whole life system that is upon this earth plane. Now, we recognize that you're going to go back and say, well, they've been here for millions of years and you've had a chance to develop in that. But look at each species. Notice how it has integrated all the little nuances that make it so efficient, that do not require thought for the most part to act. It is almost like they are programmed. Programming is not a chance. It's not a part of chaos. It is intelligent design created for that species to make it more efficient, to make it more practical, to make it work more efficiently. Intelligent design is still in operation. You as human beings are about to undergo an energy shift or a life shift. And that part that we speak of is intelligent design. You're going to find that you're going to become less physically oriented, more, we would say, expanded conscious oriented. And that shift in direction or desire and design is going to make the bodies lighter, it's going to make them more efficient, it's going to make them more all-encompassing of everything that you are. This other side, as you would recognize it now, would be something that is unconscious or invisible or untouchable. You're going to touch that and you're going to see that the mind and the consciousness create. You're going to touch this creative part of yourself, not just you as an individual, but as mass consciousness. And as you begin to change and shift, so will all the other energies that are here, the animal life. If you think you cannot affect animal life, what of your pets? What are those that have decided to allow you to nurture them? So, for your question about whether life is created by random act or by intelligent design, We leave that up to you. But we're suggesting there is much more going on than meets the eye or the physical senses. We're Alexander.